Welcome everybody. Film fan went away here to my Blu-ray pickup video for January of 2020. Yes, we are finally diving into 2020 here, guys. Now, before we dive into 2020, I want to say that 2019 was a really fantastic, amazing year for physical media. There was a lot of really wonderful limited editions and collector's editions, a lot of really great retro titles that finally saw its way on to Blu-ray and physical disc. And man, that was a great year. Go back, check out all of my 2019 pickup videos. I got a lot of really wonderful releases, and 2019 really set the bar high. So I'm going into 2020 really hoping that we can see a lot of really great, wonderful releases coming our way. A lot of really great titles is gonna sort of almost, give 2019 a run for its money. We'll see, dude. 2020 has a lot to live up to because last year really was dynamic. But I'm ready to see what 2020 brings. And the first stack for the year, not too bad on the smaller side, but some pretty great titles indeed. And the first title that I got for the year is none other than Brewster's Millions right here, man. Really, really great edition. Collector's edition from Shout Select. And I really love this cover, dude. With Richard Pryor right there holding the money, dude. The none of the above right here, man. Really great, dude. And on the inside, you also have the theatrical art here, which looks really awesome, man. I've always loved this art, man. Almost like comes right out of like a game show or something. Really awesome, dude. Ah, fantastic. And if you guys have been keeping up with the Blu-ray pickup videos, I've told you guys that when I was a kid, my mother and father would tape movies on VHS, and that I would watch it when I was sort of a young teen getting into movies, and one of those titles was Brewster's Millions. And it was so interesting sort of finding a movie like this because I wouldn't necessarily call this a kids movie, but I think that it was one of those movies where I think my mother and father thought it was safe for me to watch, especially for something like Richard Pryor. Because Richard Pryor doesn't exactly make, you know, kids or sort of lighter fare a lot of times. I mean, he has before, like getting into Richard Pryor, I would watch movies like The Toy and this movie, and that's really how I got into him. But then once you get older, you find a little bit more of the adult stuff, and you sort of dive into that a little bit more. But movies like this were a little bit more accessible, especially sort of a young teen sort of getting into movies. I mean, this was a movie that I found him. This is another movie that I found John Candy as well. I mean, it's a movie that I loved on VHS, and I didn't think that we were actually gonna see it on a collector's edition release, but here we are, man. And the movie is about Montgomery Brewster, played by Richard Pryor, and he's sort of this uh, sort of aging baseball player for this, low key team, and he's sort of down on the dumps sometimes. And what happens is a relative of his that he never knew that he had died, and he sort of gives Richard Pryor this sort of ultimatum. He says, look, you have 30 days to spend $30 million. And if you do that, if you successfully do that, and you do not own any assets after the 30 days, all of the money is spent, then you get $300 million. And Montgomery Brewster's like, hell, man, this is easy, dude. Okay, man. But it's anything but. There's a lot of stipulations, a lot of rules. He cannot tell his friends. He cannot tell anybody that he knows about this. And again, after the 30 days, he cannot have any money left, and he cannot own any assets whatsoever. So it's really tricky, sort of spending the money and all of the sort of complication and the hilarity that really goes into that. I've always really enjoyed this movie, dude. Rewatching the movie now, I've always thought to myself, what would I do spending $30 million in 30 days and not being able to own anything afterwards? How would you spend it? How would you go about dealing with it? And I thought they were really clever in this movie. Certain things like the political campaigns or the stamps, stuff that I didn't really even think of. I thought it was very clever how they made the movie, how they went about spending the money. I think Richard Pryor is really great here. He's really vintage Richard Pryor, even though he's kind of held back in a lot of ways from not being sort of the raunchy Richard Pryor that we kind of know and love. I think he still does a really great job here. I think John Candy's great here as well. I think the chemistry between him and Pryor is fantastic here. There's a lot of really great, wonderful actors here. You also get Stephen Collins here, who does a really fantastic job as well as sort of this sleazy lawyer type guy. I think it's been always a fun movie that I've really adored, dude, over the years, man. And like I said, I've just never thought this was ever gonna come on a collector's edition release. I just never did, man. And so when Shell Select really announced it, I was like, dude, I'm on board with this in a big bad way, dude. I was so wanting to pick this up. I'm so glad I did, dude. And I think Shell Select definitely gave it the love it deserves. You'll get a new audio commentary with a couple of film critics talking about the movie. And this is a really great commentary, man, because, yeah, they're sort of, having fun with the movie, but they're really talking about the time in the 80s that it was made, Richard Pryor's career, John Candy, the director Walter Hill as well. They really go into a lot of really great stuff with the movie. It's a really great commentary. You also get a new interview with the screenwriter, and he really talks about what they wanted to do with the movie versus what it ended up being, working with Pryor, working with the studio. Very interesting interview with the screenwriter as well. You also end up getting the 1945 adaptation of the movie. Now, I never knew this was actually a remake. That completely blew me away because I never actually knew that, guys. And so when they put the original movie actually on the disc here, I was really happy because it's an interesting movie because it's so different from the 80s one, obviously, from, how they spent the money and how they go about telling the story. But it's really cool just as a fan of this movie, seeing the different version and sort of seeing the adaptation from one film to the next. Even if you don't really love the 1945 adaptation, it's still kind of fascinating just as a film lover watching it. So I really appreciated that, man. And you also get the theatrical trailer and still gallery as well. Really great release, man, that Shell selected. And another one of those VHS nostalgia movies that I get to own on Blu-ray, dude. And so I'm really happy for that, man. This may be an indicator of where 2020 is going, hopefully. Some really cool, maybe nostalgia style ones coming down the pipe. Hopefully, dude, because, if there's anything like Brewster's Millions, I'll definitely keep on buying them for sure, man. If you love this movie, if you love Richard Pryor, definitely give it a chance, man. Not bad at all. Brewster's Millions. Then the next title that I got is a 3-disc limited edition from Blue Underground. I've been getting a lot of Blue Underground as of late, a lot of those 3-disc limited editions, and this one I definitely wanted to add to the collection, guys, and that is none other than House by the Cemetery right here, man, and with that great lenticular slipcover. Not bad at all. Very nice. And on the inside, you get the regular art as well. Ooh, love it. So nice, man. Nice. Now, if you guys have been keeping up with the pickup videos, you know that I am on a quest to get all of the Lucio Fulci library in the collection. And I have definitely been picking up a lot of very interesting Fulci titles over the months, man. And now add House by the Cemetery to the ever-growing list of titles that I have now from the man himself. And, this is one of his more recognizable titles, more of his well-known stuff, because I've been picking up a lot of more unknown Fulci stuff, not as well known. This one is definitely more of his more signature ones. People know this one a little bit more. And it's basically about this family that moves into this house, and there's this killer in the house, and the killer, nobody really knows what's going on with the killer or why the killer's doing what they're doing or if the killer is connected to the house somehow. And so while the family is trying to adjust to this new house and their new beginnings, they're also trying to figure out the mysteries of this house and at the same time like trying to deal with like this killer that's on the loose as well. Man, God, I've said it so many times, but it really is true. I love Fulci, dude. I really honestly do. Fulci is the man. He's the master of suspense. He's the master of this sort of like suspense thriller type of 80s horror stuff that I think people really came to love and appreciate. And here is no exception, dude. I think whether it's the kills, which the kills are so graphic and so like so over the top, but they fit the movie so much. Like the killer just like knifing somebody to death, the really blood red, like just like the like oozing blood that's coming out, dude. Really over the top, but fits the movie. The family, has these over the top tendencies, and they're really sort of very theatrical, and I think it fits the movie great. There's a lot of really great sort of suspenseful sort of shock moments, and I think that's another thing that Fulci really does great. It's sort of these more like shock, like oh my god moments. I think Fulci does that stuff so well, guys. I think he's really awesome at that stuff, and there are some genuine moments of really pure like terror and horror that I experienced, man. And I rarely do that now. Being a horror lover, I've seen so many great movies over the years of horror films that nothing really gets me anymore. But there was a really great sequence in here where like the little boy Bob is sort of going down the basement and he sees the killer, but it's only the killer sort of glowing eyes, and it's so like with the music and everything, it's so like really suspenseful. And you're on the edge of your seat, like get out of there, get the hell out of the basement. And I had all the lights on, dude, and everything, and I was still like my heart was pounding, dude. And that's sort of the power of Fulci. Fulci can really make you feel something you've never felt before, and it's so great. He's so awesome here, and I think whether it's the killings, which are really brutal and bloody, to I think the family dynamic, it's really great sort of shock Fulci horror that I think people really gravitated to, and I just really loved it, dude. I thought this movie was really fantastic, man. And Blue Underground definitely gave it the love that it really deserves, man. I mean, they really packed this in a major release, dude. I mean, you get a new audio commentary with Troy Howarth really talking about the movie and talking about Fulci. And I've always really loved Troy Howarth's commentaries because he's a really in-depth guy, really goes into the makings of the movies, the actors themselves, Fulci's career at that point. Like, he's so in-depth and his commentaries are so fascinating. I really love his work so much. So he did a really great commentary here. You also get deleted scenes, theatrical trailers, TV spots, poster and still galleries. And on disc 2, you get all of these really great interviews from crew members and cast members really talking about the making of the movie, talking about working with Fulci, the difficulties and the love they had with him, and the reception of the movie. Really interesting sort of dynamics from the actors to people on the crew, costume designers, everybody really talking about their sort of stories with Fulci. Really amazing stuff here. You also get you get a couple of critics really talking about Fulci's work, and you get a third disc, which is the original motion picture soundtrack, which I really do love the soundtrack so much, dude. I really love a lot of the Fulci soundtracks for his movies because they're very atmospheric and they're very suspenseful and they really fit the movie that they're a part of. And this is no exception, dude. There's moments here of tension. There's moments here of sort of funny and drama, and the music really accompanies that in a big bad way. So the soundtrack is great, dude. So I really love that as well to have this part of it, man. But Blue Underground really does a great job with their releases, man. They're always really fantastic, and this is no exception. I really love this one quite a bit, man. I can see why this is as well known as it is, man. I really honestly can, because Fulci is somebody that I think he, he's just a really fascinating guy. The movies that he made and the man himself, and his movies are a slice of horror weirdness that you can't quite quantify. It's sort of hypnotic, and you love them, and you want more, and I just keep on loving his work, dude. It doesn't matter whether it's the really popular stuff like House by the Cemetery or Zombie or something, or it's a little bit more unknown like some of the other stuff I've gotten, like Lizard in a Woman's Skin or stuff like that. I think he does a great job. Whatever genre he's trying to go for within the horror realm or the giallo realm, he does a really great job here, man. And I can see why his movies have stood the test of time. I really honestly can, dude. Really great movie, dude. And I just continue to love Fulci, and I am continuing my quest to get all the Fulci titles. God knows how long that's going to take me, guys, but it's going to be a fun ride while I do it, man. Not bad at all. House by the Cemetery. Then the next title I picked up was a new release that came out in January. And this was a no-brainer to pick up, guys. It really was an absolute no-brainer. And that is the Blu-ray DVD digital of Joker. Yes, right here, guys. Actually, this is the limited edition Target slipcover that I got, man. And, I had to pick up this slip. I think it's beautiful with sort of, Joaquin there as the Joker and there's the fire in the background. Really fantastic, man. Now, on the inside, you do get the same art that's right here, but I also ended up actually sort of trading with a friend, and I actually got the different art on the inside here for Joker as well. So as I got this slip and then the inside with the different art of sort of him sort of looking more serious with the clown smiley face stuff, and I actually changed the Blu-ray case because there was a regular Blu-ray case and I had a black one, and I was like, hey, I'm gonna change it, and I think the black really looks good, man. I really do. So I got some unique art on the outside, art on the inside, and the black case. Not half bad, guys. And the movie itself is such a wonderful, wonderful just really dramatic and weird and very cinematic slice of the DC world. And man, this was one of the most highly anticipated movies of 2019. It really was. I mean, I remember when the first trailer came out and people were like really like, "Oh my god, dude, like I can't believe they did this different take on the Joker, and what is Joaquin going to do with this role?" Because the Joker is not a character that can be easily done. Really, it's not. I mean, so many people have attempted it successfully, mind you. A lot of people have, whether it's Cesar Romero, back in the old school Batman TV days, whether it was Jack Nicholson with the '89 Batman, which still I consider a really high watermark, going to Heath Ledger, which, man, Heath Ledger just brought it to a whole new level, man. And he did an amazing job here. Of course, you have the TV show Gotham and what they did with Joker there. And then you have the Suicide Squad stuff, and I don't even want to get into the Leto crap. But, there's ways to do Joker right, and there's ways to do Joker wrong. And so I think a lot of people were really anticipating this movie because, when you think of certain actors, you think they could pull off Joker. It's possible. And Joaquin is one of those really unpredictable actors that you're not quite sure. You can't always nail him down. And you're thinking, if anybody could pull him off after such a powerhouse performance from Ledger, it could be Joaquin. And I was very interested. Also, the movie being directed by Todd Phillips, of all things. I mean, Todd Phillips, director of the Hangover movies, of Road Trip, like, this guy's doing a serious Joker movie? Like, huh? Like, you're like, this is so weird and odd, and you're like, I've got to see what the hell this thing is. And this movie did not disappoint for me. Not a single moment did this movie disappoint. I really loved how they did a very unique take on Joker that's very similar to something like Taxi Driver, a very gritty, almost realistic take of what the Joker would be like, almost like in a world of like the 70s or something like the King of Comedy, and they really got influenced by Scorsese and those sort of darker takes of those movies back in the day. And this movie really works, man, on all cylinders. Whether it's sort of the slow descent that the character of Arthur really takes to become the Joker, going down this rabbit hole of insanity, and finally completely losing it and turning into this guy, this madman. And I just love that slow evolution of a character slowly sort of losing bits of his mind until it's completely gone for good. It's so fantastic here, and Joaquin does such an amazing job with this role, dude. I can see why he won the Academy Award and all the other acting awards, because he's just that goddamn good in the role, dude. He is really absolutely fantastic and amazing. Does a really just dynamic job with this role, playing the more scared and shy Arthur to becoming more bold and more ruthless. And just the transition of that character was amazing, and he did a great job. Everybody did, especially De Niro as sort of the talk show host, and all the other sort of supporting roles. Everybody did a dynamic job here. Todd Phillips did a really great job here as well. It's a movie that I think had the potential to really disappoint, and it didn't. And, I found over the years that a lot of these sort of highly anticipated movies, so to speak, a lot of them sometimes really let you down. They really do, man. And this one is one of those movies that just, to me, really was a shining example of, if you get all the right elements together, you can make a really fantastic movie. And this really is one of those movies that I think is really going to be remembered for just being a unique and different take on a Batman villain. And now we're sort of hearing about, oh, they're going to do a dark and gritty take on this character and a dark and gritty take on this character. And it all stems from this movie. Will it work? I don't know, man, because some characters are better at adapting certain material than others are. I don't know if some of those other properties are going to work for a standalone sort of, how they became a villain sort of movie. But this one just worked, and it's special. And before we go making all these other ones, let's sort of pump the brakes a little bit and appreciate this one for what it is, and see what worked, and not just flood the market with all this stuff. It's going to be flooded anyways, but it's still a fascinating movie regardless, man. And it's one that's an absolute watch, really honestly is, man. And you get here the making of a behind the scenes look at the creation of the film, Joaquin Phoenix alternate takes, costume tests, and more. Really diving into little bits and pieces of the making of it, really how Joaquin got into it through the costume, and how he got into really the improvisation of the character, and how just little moments were created right on the fly. And Joaquin is such a really inventive actor that sort of Todd Phillips really had to just sort of go with it at times. And it's just a really well done movie, and I think the behind the scenes look at some of this stuff from the disc really shows you the creative aspects of the movie and how they got to where they got to. And really fantastic stuff, dude. I really don't want another Joker movie for a really long time. It's kind of interesting because they're always making Batman movies. And, I've heard people talk about, oh, I would love to see Willem Dafoe be the Joker. Or I'd love to see, Lakeith Stanfield, I think his name is. He could be the Joker. And there's always been talk of other people playing it. I think the Joker is special in bits and pieces. like, you do the Joker and then you kind of, stay away from a while. Because we saw Joker in 2008 when they did The Dark Knight, and then you didn't see him again until Suicide Squad. Okay, we're disregarding Suicide Squad. Get that crap out of here. But, then you see this and you're like, okay, there's unique moments when they make a character really dynamic, and you just have to sit with that character for a while until they reinvent it again. And this movie, they will reinvent Joker again. It's just going to be a long while. Until then, let's appreciate this movie, and let's appreciate just the performance Joaquin did, because it's absolutely amazing, guys. Let's definitely appreciate it for sure, man. It's an awesome movie, one of the best from 2019, and I'm damn glad to have it in the collection. Joker. And the next pickup that I got, guys, well, now we're entering into a bunch of Scream Factory love right here. And the first is none other than a double feature, which I rarely actually get double features. I'm not a big sort of person to get double features in the collection, but this one I couldn't pass up, dude, honestly. And that is Deathstalker 1 and 2. Yes, the double feature of Deathstalker and Deathstalker 2, man. You know what? Look, man, I had to pick this up. Okay, I had to. Now, this originally got released from Scream Factory in a limited edition 1000 print run. And I didn't pick it up at first. When it first got announced and came out, I didn't pick it up. And the reason why I didn't, because I said, this is not going to sell out, dude. And boy, was I so wrong, because it sold like fucking hotcakes, dude. This thing sold majorly. And then once it sold out, and it sold out fast, I was like, what? Why did it sell out? I was so shocked. And I was like, oh my god, dude, I didn't see that coming. I was blindsided by it. And then suddenly I'm like, oh my god, now I gotta go on eBay, and I was checking eBay, dude. And let me tell you something. The eBay prices for this was ridiculous. I was like, no way, dude, I'm not gonna. And I just decided, screw it. I missed out on it. And that's it. I'm just never gonna get it. And then, a while ago they announced that, oh, we're doing another 1000 print run. And I'm like, dude, I have to get this. Because if I do not get this now and this sells out, I'm going to be like, I'll be like, dude, I'm an idiot. Like, I missed out on the first 1000 and then I missed out on the second 1000. I'm like, fuck that, dude. I'd be a moron. So I'm like, no, I'm not going to be that. I'm going to pick it up. And that's what I did, dude. And the reason why I wanted this is, being a Red Letter Media fan, I ended up watching their sort of best of the worst where they talked about Deathstalker, and then they had a separate one where they talked about Deathstalker 2. And I was like, this seems so bad it's good. And I've always been a fan of sword and sorcery movies, and this one has sort of a flavor of like sort of the Beastmaster in a lot of ways. So I'm like, okay, let me watch this, dude, because a lot of movies that people consider so bad it's good, I tend to actually enjoy. So I'm like, bring it on, bitch. So I'm like, okay, man. And, the first Deathstalker is really just very much in the vein of sort of a Beastmaster style one, of just like an old school fantasy, sort of almost Conan the Barbarian sort of epic of this guy who, is trying to win this kingdom, and all of these people that are trying to stop him, the sort of king of sort of the castle, who is this sort of magic wizard, and he's evil, and then the movie has like a bunch of naked women that are in it, and a shitload of rape. Like, literally, like 90% of the movie is just women taking it. And it's like, wow. I knew it from like the Red Letter Media stuff, but once I ended up watching it, I'm like, oh my god, man. Like, I don't know what the producers or the director or anybody was thinking when they were making this goddamn thing, but I'm like, wow, man. Like I don't know what they think of women, but it ain't that high in regard, dude. Whoa, wow. Like it's just like women just are like there to be used and played with and just thrown away like toilet paper, man. Like, whoa. Uh, you know, how that being said, I really enjoyed the movie. Not gonna lie, guys, I really enjoyed the movie, and I thought it was actually a really overall a really I actually had a fun time watching the movie, dude. I mean, you know, chicks running around with their boobs hanging out, sword and sorcery stuff, weird sort of creatures and people in pig masks, and you know, it's it's the B movie cheese version of Conan and the Barbarian. It's the B movie cheese version of Beastmaster, dude. And for some reason, I really enjoyed it. So I had fun with this one. Uh, yeah, it's not for everybody. I'm not gonna lie, dude. There's a lot of people that are gonna be turned off by the first Deathstalker. But for me, I have a lot of weird crap in the collection, so this goes right at home with that. I'm not gonna lie, dude. On top of that, with Deathstalker 2, what's so weird about Deathstalker 2, dude? What's really weird about this one is that it is almost the total opposite of the first Deathstalker. It's a different actor playing Deathstalker, but not only that, but it's it's like it's still sword and sorcery in a lot of ways, but it actually doesn't really take itself seriously. The first Deathstalker really takes itself more as a serious movie, which is really weird because there's like just chicks with like their tits just hanging out. It's like we are a serious sword and sorcery movie, and where the second one sort of is like more ridiculous, more comedic, and they kind of know that they are, and they sort of just go with it, and I really appreciated that. And a little bit more slapstick, a little bit more humorous, and I tended to appreciate that. I appreciate both Deathstalkers for kind of two different ways. But Deathstalker 2 is really very more in a fun, sort of, campy way, I would say. I really like sort of the more humorous slapstick moments. I think out of the two movies, I probably enjoyed Deathstalker 2 a little bit more as just more of sort of B movie camp. But I think both have their charm to it. It's just depending on the type of charm that you're looking for. Where more of a serious movie, but you realize that you just sort of the hilarity of it trying to be a serious movie, yet these chicks are getting railed and are completely naked, and just the absurdity of it all. Versus Deathstalker 2, which is more of just knowing its absurdity and how ridiculous it actually is. So I had a fun time with these movies. I honestly do, dude. It's sort of like just go in knowing what it is and just having fun with it. And I definitely had fun with with these titles for sure, man. I really did, dude. It's sword and sorcery weirdness and B movie cheese, but as I say, dude, I have this kind of stuff in the collection, so it doesn't really faze me, man. And I'm happy to have it in the collection by far, man. And, Scream Factory definitely did give it some love, man. You have, on the first Deathstalker film, you have an audio commentary by the producer, director, special makeup effects artist John Carl Beekler, and one of the actors here, photo gallery and theatrical trailer. And they're just having fun with the movie and how sort of weird the movie is, and talking about the special effects and the special makeups and the creature effects and everything. It's a fun commentary. And on Deathstalker 2, you have an audio commentary by the director and a couple of the actors as well. And that's a really fun commentary as well, man. Just talking about them making the movie and the first film and what they wanted to do with this film and the absurdity and the hilarity of it. Dude, I can't say, like, whatever I say, it won't do these films justice. Put it that way, man. They are so weird and odd. And it really goes to the time that these movies were made, because I don't really think you can ever make movies like this now, man. You cannot do it, dude. I'm serious, man. there would be some sort of strike going on, or, some sort of group like raising the red flag on stuff, man. Uh, these movies, man, that's one of the reasons why I appreciate the 80s as much as I really do, because it was just a time where you could get away with so much crap and nobody even batted an eye at it. And now you're like, oh my god, I can't believe they did that. But back in the 80s, it was just what it was. And you just did it. And people were like, okay, cool, yeah. And just what they got away with astounds me, dude. It really does, man. And these ones are pure sort of 80s sci-fi fantasy cheese, and I really loved both of these movies for very different reasons, but I really did dig it quite a bit. And I'm glad I picked it up. I don't know when the second batch of 1,000 is going to be going out of print, but it's going to be going out at some point soon, because 1,000 is really just a very limited run, guys, if you really think about it. So, I missed out on the first time, but I was not missing out on the second time for sure, man. So I'm really glad to pick these up. If you like sword and sorcery fantasy, go in knowing what you're getting for sure. Look it up, but you might have a fun time with it. Not bad. Deathstalker 1 and 2. And the next title that I picked up, guys, is a collector's edition release of Species, with the slipcover right here. Very nice, of the alien. Very cool there. And on the inside, the theatrical art, which I've always loved. Very nice art, man. Love that. So much, dude. And I picked this up because a lot of the Scream Factory titles, a lot of the early Scream Factory titles, are now actually going out of print. The licensing has expired, and Scream Factory is not renewing a lot of that stuff. So a lot of that stuff now is just going to go out, and it's like, if you don't get it, it's going to be gone, and then you're going to have to go on eBay, and those prices are absolutely ridiculous, dude. And I did not want to do that, and so I ordered this through Diabolic, and I was shocked when I got it with the slipcover, because, as you guys know, after about 2 or 3 months, the slipcovers are no longer guaranteed by Scream Factory. They're no longer guaranteed at all. And so a lot of times, a lot of these titles that you get that were supposed to have slipcovers, whether you order it on Amazon or Diabolic or Shout Factory's website, they just do not have them. And so you just are like, okay, I just missed out on it. So I was so shocked when I got it with the slip. But, dude, I was so beyond happy, dude. And it came in really great condition, so I was not complaining whatsoever. And this movie, dude, this movie is one of those really 90s sci-fi goodness, dude. It is sort of 90s sci-fi B-movie cheese that's sort of pretends to be this huge blockbuster movie with these really accomplished actors and everything, but its heart is in sci-fi B movie cheese by far, man. And basically, it's about this sort of message that gets sent down to Earth from outer space, and they're like, hey, this, sort of instructions to build something. And it ends up actually with genomes and everything. It's actually a little girl, and it's sort of like, oh, okay, and it's an alien, but it looks like a human being, and eventually she sort of breaks out of the government sort of quarantine that she's in, and she ends up sort of like cocooning herself and turning into this beautiful, beautiful woman played by Natasha Henstridge, and she wants to mate, and she wants to reproduce and mate, and she cannot do that, because once she does that, it's like, then now there's all these other sort of, fuck aliens that are now on the earth, and they're gonna fuck other people, and there's gonna be a sort of alien race that's going to be taking over the world. and sort of like they cannot have that happen. So they have this crack team of like these people that Marge Helgenberger. You have so many really great people here. Oh my God, I'm trying remembering all the people here: Forrest Whitaker, Alfred Molina, Michael Madsen, Ben Kingsley, and they're all just kind of like this crack squad team that's trying to stop the alien from fucking humans. Like I said, it's B movie cheese wrapped in sort of this Hollywood blockbuster, prestige movie apparently. And I'm kind of like, no, dude, it's B movie cheese, and it's so good, dude. I really love this. I mean, especially if you think about back in the day with how beautiful and gorgeous Natasha Henstridge was, and just how, you know, you think about how she was the perfect casting for this movie because, like, you could see any guy wanting to go for her, man. I mean, I watched this movie and I'm like, she could fuck me to death. I'm cool, man. She could, if I'll just lay down and get on top of me, and if you want to kill me afterwards, cool. I'm okay with it. I've lived a happy life that if I get fucked by Natasha Henstridge and then killed, dude, just put it on my tombstone. Like, he lived a good life, and then he was fucked by Natasha Henstridge, and then she killed him. But he died happy. like that's like I'm good with it. And so she was so beautiful but yet had a dangerous edge to her. And I think the movie really captured that in a really great way. I think some of the acting here is really good, but yet it's over the top as well. I really like sort of this sci-fi bit of cheese and goodness, dude. I really do, man. I will say the one drawback to the movie is that the CGI is very early, sort of 90s CGI, and boy, some of it is really bad. But that being said, man, I like sort of the H.R. Giger design of the creature. I like sort of the concept of the movie. I think it works really well. It does feel a little bit outdated, but boy, do I still love this movie so much, dude. So for me, man, this is honestly one I definitely highly, highly recommend for sure, man. Especially if you like sci-fi stuff, man. It's fun sci-fi horror, I would say. Really fun sci-fi horror with cool designs and some over the top, sort of acting of like we gotta get her, we gotta get the alien, and like da 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 da, and sort of like that sort of like pretending to be ultra serious, but yet it's ultra sci-fi cheese goodness, man. I love it, dude. I love it so much, dude. I'm so happy because I actually used to have the DVD years and years ago, like the 2 disc DVD that came out a long time back, and I got rid of it at some point. And I'm glad to have it back in the collection, man. But this is so good, dude. And Scream Factory gave it a lot of really great love, dude. I mean, you get a new 4K scan. You get an audio commentary with some of the actors, which is a riot. They're having a really fun time watching this movie, dude. You have that. You have another audio commentary with some of the more technical people from the film, and of course they talk about more of the technical side of stuff. A theatrical trailer, and then on disc 2, you have new interviews with Roger Donaldson, the director, the cinematographer, production designer, composer, special effects supervisor as well, and some really great sort of just talking about the movie and talking about the difficulties in making the movie and sort of the hilarity behind some of the stuff. It's a really fun interviews, man. You also get Engineering Life, you get H.R. Giger at Work, The Making of Species, The Origin, The Concept, The Discovery, Designing a Hybrid, Alternate Ending, and Still Gallery. A lot of great love that Scream Factory gave this dude, and I'm so happy to have it in the collection. And, some of these early Scream Factory titles, now they're going out of print, and so I would advise you guys, and I don't know which ones are exactly going out of print and which ones aren't. I believe you can look on the Shout Factory website and check which ones are actually going out of stock, so you guys know which ones to get or whatnot. But this is one that definitely is. But I was lucky enough to get the slip with it, man, and it's a movie that I watched back in the 90s when I was, in my mature teen days, and you see Natasha Henstridge naked, and it brings up moments when you're a young teen of thinking to yourself, wow, I'm feeling things that maybe I didn't know, and wow, Natasha Henstridge is really hot. Woo! Wow. Is it just me, or is it really hot in here, man? That's just part of my growing up, man. Good times indeed. Species. And if I picked up Species 1, well, you know what that means, guys. I had to pick up Species 2. Of course I did, man. Oh, brother. Okay, so this one is another Scream Factory title that's actually going out of print as well. Now, it's not a collector's edition release, but boy, man, is it just as fun and very unique and really equally as crazy as Species. In fact, actually more so, because this movie actually ends up actually wearing more of its sort of sci-fi horror B-movie ridiculousness and cheese actually on its sleeve compared to Species. Now, mind you, I love Species, and I love Species too, but this one is definitely more over the top and ridiculous. And believe it or not, guys, I actually ended up watching this film before I ended up watching Species. So I watched the second part before I ever watched the first part. And now, okay, look. Let's talk about this movie, man, because this movie basically it picks up sometime later after Species, and there's a new version of Natasha Henstridge, and these astronauts go into outer space, and there's an accident that happens to a bunch of these astronauts, some sort of alien wave or something that sort of messes with them, and they come back down to Earth, and everything seems fine, but they've actually been transformed into something similar as to what the character of Syl is, and basically, the government has to track these people down, and the government has to stop these people from, again, fucking the world out of existence. And oh, wow, man. Okay, so let me put this into context for you guys. At the time when I watched Species 2, I did not watch as many horror films as I did afterwards. I had watched a few things through VHS, but pretty much once I was getting into my sort of early teen years and everything, and sort of middle teens, I was starting to get into a lot of horror movies. But I had not seen a lot at that point. And I remember watching Species 2. I rented it from, God knows, Hollywood Video, Blockbuster, you name it. And I remember popping it in and watching it. And I was not prepared for what I was about to see. I was not prepared, dude. Because, like, for instance, there's that one scene where the guy, the male astronaut there, the lead male astronaut, he's having a threesome with these chicks, right? And so he just has sex with one, and she goes into the bathroom, sort of, looking at herself in the mirror, and he's starting to rail the other one, and this woman in the bathroom, she's like, "Oh God, I'm not feeling good." And I'm like, "What the fuck is happening to this chick?" And suddenly her fucking stomach is ballooning like a motherfucker, and it's like, not only that, but while the guy is on top of the girl in the bed, he's sort of turning into this weird creature with these tentacles and everything, and he's on top of her, and he's morphing, and she's sort of screaming in bloody terror, and this woman in the bathroom is like, ah, and it's like, and her fucking stomach explodes, and this other chick is all bloody, and she's being penetrated by these weird sort of tentacle like stuff, and it's and I dude, at that point I had not seen much like gore and stuff in horror movies at that point. And I remember was seeing that, and the fucking bodies and the stomach blowing out and everything, and I almost lost my lunch. Like I literally I was like I was like, oh my fucking god! I had never seen anything like it before in my life. I was like, Jesus Christ! Like what the fuck, man? And it just blew me away, dude. And I was like, and ever since then, I became a gore fan. Like it was love at first sight, and I was like, oh my god, dude. And some of the weird like creature effects and everything, it was so really cool, dude. And it just blew my mind away, man. And you know, I just really love this movie for just how weird and crazy it be, because the first film is trying to pretend to be this sort of prestige Hollywood blockbuster movie, but as I said, it's really more of like a B movie cheese more than anything else. This movie really has no illusions of being any big Hollywood thing. It knows what it is, dude, and it's wearing it proudly. And I mean, from the acting, I mean, Michael Madsen is back here, Marge Helgenberger is back as well, and those are pretty much the main two that are back. There's a couple other people that are, but they're minor characters. But I love Michael Madsen in here, dude. Michael Madsen, man, I can't say I love him in all of the stuff he's done, but there are certain roles where I'm like, dude, this guy is just having fun and not giving two fucks. And this is one of those movies where he knows what he's in, dude. He knows it was ridiculous and complete like cheese, and he's just having a ball, man. He's walking in, doing his one liner and walking away, man. I just love it, and I just still love the premise of having sex and and fucking, and these kids are sort of like growing up, and they're gonna fuck, and we're just gonna be overrun by aliens. And by the way, I could totally see this happening in the world, guys. I can totally see us getting overrun by aliens that are just gonna fuck us to death. Okay, we are not a society of people that handles things really well. Okay, when we see a hot chick, we just jump at that shit at the drop of a hat, dude. Chicks see a hot guy and they're like, ooh, what? And they just go, dude, we'd be dead in a matter of fucking days. Okay, let's be realistic here, man. But the movie has some really fantastic gore here, man. The over the top acting, the effects, man. I thought it was a fun as hell movie, dude. I had a wonderful ride with this film, and I remember just loving the shit out of this. I used to own the DVD, but I got rid of it a while back, and now that it was starting to go out of print from Scream Factory, I was like, dude, I gotta pick this up, dude. So I'm so happy I did, man. And there's so much really great love here, dude. Even though this is not a collector's edition, man, you'd be surprised it wasn't, because there is a lot of really great stuff here, dude. I mean, you get New from Sill to Eve, an interview with actress Natasha Henstridge, and she's really great. She talks about the first film being cast in that, and talking about her rise to fame and stardom, and talking about the reception of that first film, her coming back for this film. She just has a lot of fun with the role and really thanks the fans, and she's a great interview, dude. You also get new Creature Creations interviews with creature and special effects makeup creator Steve Johnson and more. And boy, man, talk about a really great interview, dude. They interview the makeup effects artists, and they have some of the best stories talking about making these effects and the budget that they had to deal with, and how they were creating so much weird shit, and how they just fucking loved every second of it. Dude, it's a great interview, dude. Some of these special makeup effects artist interviews that I see on these discs are so fun, because they're some of the best interviews, dude. And this is fantastic, man. You have that. You also have a new Alien Evolutions, an interview with screenwriter uh, Chris Brancato, and this guy is so fun of an interview because he talks about how ridiculous the movie is to get made. He talks about the ending of the movie, and I love this. He talks about the ending of the movie and how he's on a call with the head of the studio, and the head of the studio is like, "Well, we need like a little kid, like one of the little kids that that grew up from fucking in the ambulance." And the screenwriter is like, "Well, I don't understand. Why do we have to have that? I thought they were all dead." Well, yeah, and he's asking the studio head, "Well, how did he get in the ambulance?" And then and he's like, "Well, you'll figure that shit out." And then he calls the producer and he's like, "Well, this is the head of the studio is asking for this, and this is ridiculous, man. I mean, come on." And the producer is like, "Well, you know what could be even better here is if we put a cat in the scene, and the cat jumps on the cat jumps on the belly." And the screenwriter is like, "How the fuck did the cat get there?" And the producer's like, "Well, you'll figure that out." And the screenwriter's like, "Ah." And he just talks about how weird Hollywood is, and how just a simple thing can turn into so complicated and weirdness because somebody has an idea and you're like, boy, people and their ideas, dude. And I love that, dude. So good, man. You also get new special effects, outtakes, and behind the scenes footage, which is really cool, and audio commentary with the director. Scenes from the film featuring uncut footage not shown in theaters, which is pretty cool. Some cool like gore effects and some stuff that wasn't in it before. Some pretty nice scenes. Theatrical trailers, still galleries, including behind the scenes photos and production sketches. Very great disc, dude. I love Species 2. I actually like Species 2 more than Species, just for how crazy and over the top and ridiculous and just like so much craziness and ridiculousness in this movie, dude. It's really wearing its sci-fi B-movie cheese on its sleeve, and it's loving every minute of it, and I love every second of it, man. I really do. Now, they did put out a double feature of Species 3 and 4, but honestly, I didn't really pick that up, guys. And the reason why is because I have a little bit of love for Species 3, but not enough to really own it, and Species 4 is really major garbage, dude. And so, it was funny because back in the day when those movies came out, Bob and I, man, we watched the shit out of those movies. And even though we have a little love for it, we realize now that Species 3 and 4 is really not that great, dude. We'll take Species 2 and Species 1 over that any day of the week. But I had to pick up both of these because I couldn't pass up, some great like sci-fi horror goodness, and especially when these ones are going out of print, I definitely had to pick it up, dude. So I'm glad to finally have these back in the collection. Very worthy ones, and you gotta love some good old Natasha Henstridge. Not bad, guys. Species 2. And the next title, guys, that I picked up is adding yet another Shout Select title to the mix, and that is Very Bad Things. Yes. Boy, man, I am so happy to get this in the collection, dude. Now, it's never been here in the collection before, but I love this movie. Now, I watched this years and years and years ago, and I just remember really loving the hell out of this film at the time, and just really appreciating the madness of a dark comedy. Because I think this was one of those movies that, honestly, guys, now I've seen a lot of dark comedies since, but when I first watched this, I had not really dived into really the dark comedy realm, and this was one of my first really sort of experiences of that, and it did not disappoint at all, man. Basically, it's about this sort of group of guys going to this bachelor party, and they have this stripper and they're in Vegas. It's a fun time, whatever. And back at their hotel room, one of the guys is having fun with the stripper and she accidentally gets killed. And then everyone's like, wait, oh my gosh, we have a dead stripper, and oh, Jesus Christ, what the hell are we gonna do? And then they have to, like, obviously get rid of the body. They have to bury it. And now everyone has this secret that they're holding, and are they going to tell the cops? Well, what are they going to do with their conscience? Who can you trust? And all the while, this one guy's trying to get married and trying to deal with this, and it's like all of the friends are just losing their shit, and all the craziness and ridiculousness that happens, man. And I've always really had an appreciation for this movie. I've always really loved it, man. The sort of dark and twisted humor in it, which I thought was really fun here, and the acting from everybody. And actually, this is a really unique movie if you really think about it, because when you look at this movie, you have, at the time, big name actors like Daniel Stern and Christian Slater that were in here, that were really, big name people that really, really headlined this thing. You had Cameron Diaz, who was really hot at the time, coming off a lot of really great projects. But you had a lot of actors that hadn't really quite hit their peak yet either. You had people like Jon Favreau, who, was still sort of, an indie guy, had not really made his name as a director and hadn't done a lot of big name stuff yet. At the same time, you have Jeremy Piven, who was definitely a secondary player here, but he had not done even close to doing anything like Entourage yet or something. So, I mean, there was a lot of these great actors in here that were still up and coming, and other ones that were sort of at the peak of their careers. So it's a very great, interesting mix of talent. But I've always really loved the humor. I've always really loved sort of this sort of twisted back and forth, and not knowing who you can trust among your friends. And I know they've tried to make this movie at other points as well. Like, I know they did a female version technically called Rough Night with Scarlett Johansson, which is not a bad movie, but you know what, man? I've always really loved this movie, and it's always sort of set a bar for sort of dark comedy for me. And I don't know if any movies have really sort of cleared the bar, I guess. It was really unique at the time, and I just really enjoyed it, dude, and I still do to this day. It had been so long since I watched it, I forgot a lot of stuff, and sort of the killings and the sense of humor. I still really love this movie so much, dude, and finally to have it in the collection is really great, man. So I'm so happy to get this, man. You have a new audio commentary with a couple of film critics, and these guys are really having a fun time with this movie, dude. And they're really talking about the actors, their time that they had in their careers, how they really made the movie and what went into making it. Very interesting commentary. You have a new interview with actor Jeremy Piven, and Jeremy Piven, dude, is one hell of a stand-up guy. He really talks about the movie in a really warm way, talking about working with the actors and talking about working with the director here, Peter Berg, who has went on to do a lot of really great big blockbuster movies. And so it's kind of weird seeing this movie that's so far removed from anything he did afterward. But he was really kind to the movie and really, talked about how the movie is so really great, and people still come up to him talking about it. So he was really happy talking about the movie. And they also have a new interview with actor Daniel Stern. And dude, Daniel Stern is a riot talking about this movie, man. He is so loving this movie, dude. And he had this really great story when they were doing night shoots for the movie. And he had on this sort of like almost like a Howdy Doody style mask. And nobody knew it was him, and he was fucking with the crew and the cast all night. And nobody knew it was him. And he almost talks about how people almost like literally almost shot him or beat the crap out of him because they were so sick of whoever this fucking dude was that was in this sort of Howdy Doody or sort of Mad Magazine sort of mask. And he just loved fucking with people on the set, and he just had a really fun time with this film, dude. And he really has a lot of fond memories of it. So that was a great interview, dude. Theatrical trailer, still gallery as well. It's so great to have this in the collection. It's been so long since I've seen it, and I can't say enough high things about Very Bad Things, dude. Love it. very bad things. Then I also picked up a release from Mondo Macabro, man. Dude, I love these sort of indie companies. And Mondo Macabro is one of the best. Not gonna lie, dude. And this one was one, when it got announced, I really wanted to check this one out. I never heard of it, dude. But a lot of these Mondo Macabro ones, I never hear about. I've never heard of at all in my life. And I'm like, I've got to check it out. And that is Dangerous Cargo. Really, and a great cover, dude. I really like that a lot, man. And by the way, it's starring Debbie Shelton from Dallas. And when I heard that she was in this movie, I'm like, what is this movie, dude? I gotta check this movie out. Whatever the hell this is, I gotta give it a look, dude. And by the way, this is a limited edition. I believe it's sold out at this point. And it is limited 377 out of 700. Now, I talked to you guys about Deathstalker 1 and 2, and that was limited to 1,000. This is limited to 700. Now, 1,000 is sort of like a drop in the bucket, dude. It's barely anything. 700 is extremely limited. So I knew that going in, and I knew that I had to like hit that pre-order button quick, because 700 copies will go in a matter of like a day or two at most, man. And so I had to get on this, and I definitely wanted to. And the movie is basically about this sort of ship crew with the captain, and the captain brings along his wife, played by Debbie Shelton, and they're carrying this cargo that is going overseas, and it's actually technically the cargo is going to be used for nefarious purposes overseas, and this one guy who is tasked to sort of look after it is brought on board the ship, and he is somebody who causes all kinds of trouble on the ship, causes a mutiny, kills people, ends up, putting the captain in the brig, and ends up, taking over the ship. And all the while, the wife of the captain is sort of stuck in between all of this on a ship full of men with this really evil guy that has taken over the ship. And will she survive? How is she going to survive? Will she sort of manipulate the situation? Will she try to help out the captain and take over the ship? Like, it's a very unique and interesting movie. And I believe it's actually a Greek movie, if I'm not mistaken. I believe it is, man. Yeah, it's a Greek exploitation film. Really interesting. And I got to admit, this movie is sleazy, man. This is a sleazy film, dude. There is all kinds of sex and violence in this thing, and I haven't watched a lot of Dallas, so I don't really know much about Debbie Shelton too much. But boy, man, do they use Debbie Shelton a lot in this movie. She is getting railed by everybody, dude. She's getting railed by the captain. She's getting railed by this former love interest. She's getting railed by the evil guy, dude. I mean, she is fully naked, dude. They are exploiting her in a big bad way, dude. Um, I mean, this could almost be considered a porno, for Christ's sake. I mean, it really is one of these movies where it's sleazy, the violence is sleazy, the sex is sleazy, and it's like this movie is like one sleaze fest after another, dude. And I loved every minute of it. I know you guys are like, boy, he's one weird fucker, man. But I just really did, dude. I thought the acting was really great here by everybody. Everybody really committed to the roles and really committed to doing this. I mean, if you're gonna commit to a sleazy, like, sexploitation film, you're either gonna go for it or you're not. And these characters went for it, especially Debbie Shelton. I'm thinking like Debbie Shelton from Dallas really is in this. Like, what the hell? And she does a great job as well. She's absolutely gorgeous and beautiful, and they really take advantage of that in every way possible, man. I really enjoyed this one. It's not for everybody, but if you really like your sexploitation films, and are interested in something very unique and interesting that you're not expecting, definitely give it a look, man. And I love the tagline here: a ship full of nitroglycerin, a crew of desperate men, and one woman. Something's going to explode. Yeah, it's either the nitroglycerin or some guy's genitals. Hey, I'm just saying, man. But it's one interesting movie, dude. And honestly, there really is no special features on this, and I'm kind of pissed about that. But Mondo Macabro came out and said that basically, in a nutshell, guys, not gonna lie, uh, nobody wanted to talk about this movie. Nobody. Some people have passed on, but a lot of people did not even want to talk about this movie. No crew, no cast. A lot of people are embarrassed by this movie, and I don't understand why, guys. Because if you are in a movie, you should be proud to be in it. If you signed up for this movie, you knew what it was going in, you should be proud to talk about this movie. And sometimes a lot of these people aren't, which is a real shame. But honestly, though, nobody wanted to talk about it. They were embarrassed, and Mondo Macabro tried, but regardless, man, movies like this still need to be seen by people and still need to be experienced. And weird sexual exploitation films, I have them in the collection. This is another one to check out, guys. Not bad at all. Definitely give it a look if you're into them. Dangerous Cargo. And the next title that I picked up, guys, is the Blu-ray digital of The Courier. Nice, yeah, with this really great slipcover right here, not bad. And of course the same artwork on the inside also. Not bad at all, man. And when I do the out and abouts, what happens is that I sort of look at the release schedule and I end up sort of checking everything out, and I'm kind of like, okay, what's getting released that week? What haven't I seen? What's going to be in the stores, or possibly what's going to be in the stores? And I try to watch as much as humanly possible. And one of them was The Courier back in January, and I thought to myself, I said, okay, this looks really interesting. I'm going to give this a look. And, a lot of these sort of mid-tier titles that come on Blu-ray and DVD, sometimes I'm really not expecting much from them, to be honest. I'm sort of like, oh, okay, I don't think this is going to be great, but, whatever. And then I end up being really surprised by them. And this was one of those surprises when I watched the movie and how much really great thrills and action was in this. And I really loved every second of it. And I thought this was really, really great, dude. I had a lot of really great fun watching this movie. Basically, it's about this sort of mobster guy played by Gary Oldman who is basically on trial, and this sort of witness is going to testify against him, and they're trying to get him to the point where he can be on camera to testify, and all of these people who are hired by the mob boss is trying to kill him. And this sort of woman played by Olga Kurylenko is trying to protect him and trying to basically get him to the point where he can testify, and sort of killing all of sort of Gary Oldman's henchmen to get to that point. And it's a really great action-packed movie, dude. Olga Kurylenko is badass here. I've always really liked Olga Kurylenko, even in the movies that are not really good, like Hitman and stuff like that. Max Payne, I was like, whatever. But she's always really good in them. I loved her as the Bond girl in Quantum of Solace. I always thought she was good, man. And here she plays a really great badass. I always love Gary Oldman, dude. Gary Oldman, it's so weird because Gary Oldman does these sort of big Hollywood movies and these great Academy Award-winning films. And then he'll do sort of these mid-tier movies like The Courier, where you're like, dude, you're like a big-name actor. What are you doing here? But I really have a lot of respect for Gary Oldman doing these type of roles because, he's just a working actor. He likes working, and if he finds a role that's interesting, he's going to take it. And I think that's really cool, dude. So I really do have a lot of fun with this movie. The movie is brutal at times. The action is really cool here. Yeah, man, I would definitely give this one a look. If you're a fan of stuff like the John Wick movies and stuff like that, I think this is one definitely worth checking out, man. So definitely give this one a look. All you get here is a commentary with the director, writer, executive producer, and the producer, writer, composer, and a trailer gallery as well. But honestly, it's a really great movie. It's one that definitely is kind of flying under the radar. There's certain sort of action movies that do fly under the radar at times, and there's ones that sort of you're not expecting much from, but they really surprise you. And the Courier is actually one of them, man. So I really did enjoy this one quite a bit. Definitely give it a look, man. Not bad at all. The Courier. Then the next title that I picked up, oh, this is an interesting one, guys. I picked this one up from Wicked Vision Media. Now, Wicked Vision Media is actually in Germany, so yes, this is one that was very interesting, but I sort of wanted to pick it up, man, and that is Necronomicon. Yes, look at that. Look at the art here, man. Now, this is a media book, and it was actually one of three different designs. And this was the design that I went with. I thought actually the design looked really cool, man, with the green and everything. It looks really awesome here. Sort of the back side here, what it looks like. It came with actually on the inside here this little sort of insert where it's a limited collector's edition. I got number 137 out of 150. Yes, indeed. And it's just thanking me for my purchase and everything. So, very interesting there. I got that. I also have it. It comes with this booklet on the inside here, which has some pictures and some articles. And it's a 3-disc set, man. Not bad at all. Now, okay, here's the thing about it. This is a German release, right? So, the booklet is all in German, okay? I can't read a single fucking word of German, all right? Just saying. The back, the description on the back is in fucking German. I cannot, for the life of me, read any German again. So maybe I'll take up German in my spare time because I'd like to understand what the fuck I'm reading, but okay. But I just wanted to definitely pick it up. I thought it looked really cool, and it's a movie that I had never seen before, but, as much as I love H.P. Lovecraft, and as much as I love some of those movies like Reanimator and From Beyond, and, a lot of that stuff that has come out, this is one that I've always heard about, but have never actually seen. And basically, it's about this guy who is playing H.P. Lovecraft, and he sort of has this sort of book that he's looking at, the Necronomicon, and he's going through these stories in the book, and basically it's a horror anthology is what it is, and it's these different stories about sort of the influences of the Necronomicon and the stories behind it, and it's very fascinating stories that really just obviously come right out of the pages of H.P. Lovecraft's work. And I enjoyed the movie. I don't know if I actually loved the movie. The movie is very weird and it's very bizarre, and it's a very sort of heavy creature feature, weird gore effects and creatures and it's just all over the place, dude. And I got to admit, the movie is really creative. There's a lot of really cool sort of makeup effects and stuff that you just sit there, you're like, wow, this stuff is really cool, man. And it's gory and it's over the top, and wow, man. At the same time, sometimes the stories aren't all that good, and sometimes they're not as effective as they should be. And it's kind of a half and half. Like there's moments where I really love the movie, and I really think, wow, this is really cool. And there's other moments where I'm like, the stories could have been done better. I'm not into it as much as I want to be. The movie's directed by Brian Usna, and I really love Brian Usna, man. He is such a really interesting director producer. He's done some really fantastic movies that I've loved, like Bride of Reanimator and Society, which I've really dug quite a bit. He's somebody that loves doing really over the top, ridiculous stuff that is just so crazy and wild, man. And this is another one of those movies, and I just have to love the movie for how bold and just all kinds of ridiculousness it is. At the same time, it's not the best horror anthology I've ever seen, man. There's a lot better horror anthologies. This one is, I don't want to say it's on the lower end, it's sort of on the tier level. It doesn't reach things like Creep Show and Tales from the Hood or Tales from the Dark Side. I think it's a little bit on the sort of second tier, but it's still not bad though, and it's still really creative, and the effects in here are absolutely amazing, dude. I mean, stuff like this or like that, man. Even look at that, some really wild and crazy effects, dude. Really interesting shit, man. It's a wild movie to watch, man, and some really great appearances from some really great actors in here. But I don't know if the film really comes together completely. It's good, I enjoyed it, but I don't know if I have absolutely loved it. I mean, let me know what you guys think about this one. I'm sort of debating whether I'm going to keep this in the collection or not. I got it from Germany. I love the media book so much, but I'm a little on the fence because, again, the movie is decent, but I didn't love it enough where I felt like I really need to own it. But sometimes with these blind buys, sometimes guys, you don't really know what you're getting until you watch it, so you just end up taking a chance, and I took a chance on it. I'm glad I watched it. It's interesting, but there's other better cinematic works out there of H.P. Lovecraft. This is a wild ride for sure, man. But it's not as good as I kept hearing about over the years, man. Everybody kept on saying how crazy and amazing this movie was, and maybe it was me being overhyped, but I didn't love it as much as I should, dude. But that's just me, man. It's a really great media book, and Wicked Vision Media did a great job with it. And there's a lot of really cool things here. You get the audio commentaries, you get featurettes and everything. And I mean, again, a lot of cool stuff. But again, it's all in fucking German, dude. I can't read a fucking lick of German to save my life. Freud into Deutsch. I mean, what? I don't know, dude. I mean, I buy a lot of stuff from the UK, not a lot of stuff from Germany. This is one of only like maybe two or three things I've actually ever bought from Germany, man. I love Wiccavision Media. They do a really great product. The movie is sort of half and half for me, but boy, if you love the movie, then definitely give this thing a look. This media book is beautiful, and by all means, a lot of great stuff is coming out of Germany and some of these other places. So definitely give some of that stuff a look, guys, because there are some really great editions of movies that are coming out. And I always tell you guys, get a region-free player because you will never be disappointed. And things like Wicked Vision Media is putting out some really awesome stuff, man. So definitely give this a look if you like Necronomicon. I wasn't a particular fan of it, but I do have to give it props for the inventiveness that it is, and just how wild and crazy the movie got, dude. It's really fascinating and a crazy ride for sure, man. Definitely give it a look if you're into H.P. Lovecraft. Necronomicon. And the next title that I picked up, guys. Wow. I had never seen this movie before, but boy, I had to give it a look, man. And it got released by Full Moon, and that is Panther Squad with my gal Sybil Danning. Yeah, look at that, man. Really cool, dude. And okay, dude, I had heard of Panther Squad through Red Letter Media when they reviewed it a while back. I knew about the movie, I'd never seen it before, and, I was ended up, scrolling through Facebook one day, and Full Moon ended up having an advertisement for Panther Squad. We're going to release a limited edition of Panther Squad, only for a really small amount of time. Get it or it's going to be gone. And I was like, oh wow, okay, that's really cool. And I said, you know what, I'm gonna give it a go, dude. I really do. And I've always really loved Sybil Danning. I mean, Howling 2, anybody? I mean, I've always had a really fun time with Sybil because she is one of these really incredibly gorgeous women that's really just, you know, like she's really hot, but yet you think that the chick can beat the shit out of you at the same time. Like she's very intimidating as a woman, and I've always really been fascinated by her, man. I haven't seen all of her work by any means, but I've always been sort of appreciative of her. And so when this sort of came about, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna give this one a chance, man. And basically, it's about this astronaut that. Let me try to read this correctly here. Let's see. When a famous astronaut is held captive by a group of murderous environmental extremists. Yes, they're environmental extremists. Don't fuck with environmental extremists, dude. And the world leaders turn to the Panther Squad, led by Sybil Danning. And so it's basically this group of hot chicks that are trying to get this famous astronaut back from these extremists, beat up the bad guys, get the hero back to the government, and look good while doing it. And I had all kinds of fun with this movie, dude. I am not gonna lie, man. I went into the movie thinking this is gonna be a real cheese fest, and it did not disappoint, not at all, dude. This is a complete and utter cheese fest from top all the way to bottom, dude. Sybil Danning is having fun as hell here. The fight sequences are over the top and really lame, but yet they're lame in a so bad it's good way. Like, these guys are so sort of buff that you're thinking these women could never in a million years beat the shit out of these guys. Like, never. And suddenly they sort of do like karate chop, chop, knee, and suddenly these guys are on the ground like, and you're like, dude, that is so unrealistic. That is, oh my, like these guys could snap these women's necks like they're a fucking chicken, but it's like these women suddenly have superpowers where they can do like judo chop, and suddenly I'm wow, like, come on, man. I thought that was really, really great, dude. But it's just the movie itself is almost like a bad parody of a Miami Vice sort of episode or something, where you have this sort of really cheesy 80s music that comes right out of almost like a Miami Vice episode. These over-the-top villains, these environmental extremists are just really just sort of just playing it all for over the topness. Sybil Danning is having fun. All of the ladies, God bless their hearts, all of these women that are part of the Panther Squad, they don't really have much of a role because it's basically the Sybil Danning show. But like they do get in a little bit of stuff here and there and kick a little bit of ass. But basically they're all ultra serious, man. They're all playing it ultra serious, and you're just sitting there like, this is so not serious, dude. Not even a little bit, man. And I just found it really fun, dude. I mean, there's even moments where, like, the women are shooting guns, and you can clearly see that they're not really shooting anything out of the guns. They're just, like, literally, like, like, hitting the trigger, and you're like, it has no bullets. Like, you're like, and the editing is choppy, and the movie makes no sense. There's this spaceship that's going to Mars, and it gets lost in space, and the other astronaut is going up, but the environmentalists don't want us to explore space. So they kidnap the scientist, and on top of that, there's this guy who's helping the Panther Squad, who is almost like a James Bond wannabe, but he's like this drunk alcoholic that is more played for comedy than anything else. Like, the movie is so weird, dude. But it's really fun, man. And I just went in knowing that this was B-movie cheese, and it did not disappoint at all, dude. So I was really happy with this one. And it's just seeing hot chicks in bikinis and really tight clothing with bad 80s music and bad action sequences, and I just loved every minute of it, dude. Sybil is completely hot here. She owns the fucking movie, and God bless her soul for it, dude. I could watch Sybil Danning in anything. I could watch her fucking reading the phone book, and I would be like, ah, oh, I love you, Sybil. I think she's great, dude. I would love to meet her in person one day, but until then, I have good, cheesy B movies to get me through, man. And Panther Squad is one of them, dude. I don't know if this is still available or not, but if it is, definitely give it a look, guys, because if you love your 80s action cheese and are not expecting like the biggest, greatest action movie ever, and you're just expecting 80s cheese, this ain't bad, dude. The only thing you do get here is an audio commentary with Sybil Danning, and Sybil is really nice and really great about this movie. Talks about the director, the acting, and everything. She is really a very humble chick, and I love her to death, and the audio commentary made me love her even more, dude. It's a great movie, dude. Full Moon did great, and I'm not always the biggest fan of getting everything from Full Moon. Some of their movies, don't always love, but this one I wanted to give a chance to, and this is definitely staying in the collection. More Sybil Danning goodness? Of course it's got to stay in the collection. Not bad at all, guys. Panther Squad. And the last pickup for January is none other than the 4K Ultra HD Blu-ray Digital of Terminator Dark Fate. Now, okay, don't kill me, guys. Don't kill me. I know what some of you are about to say. You're like, oh my god, he picked up Terminator Dark Fate, really? Hold on. So, look. I saw this in the movie theater, and I get what people have said about the movie. I get it, I understand it. That a lot of people sort of feel like, okay, can we just stop with these fucking Terminator movies, man? Can't we just fucking stop with them, dude? I get it, I understand it, and you're not wrong. You're not wrong, man. Really, but to me, I'm not gonna lie, man. Like, I thought to myself, this could be a really good movie. It has the potential to be, because to be honest with you, the Terminator franchise has really taken a beating, man. I mean, it's like a dead horse, man. The first Terminator movie is a classic. The second Terminator movie is a classic. And then once you get into the other films, it tends to be sort of a muddy water in a lot of ways. I personally really like Terminator 3. I think Rise of the Machines is actually a pretty decent Terminator movie. I know a lot of people don't really like that film. I'm in the minority. I realize that, but I enjoy it. You get Terminator Salvation, and Terminator Salvation, man, what a real garbage movie. But then again, honestly, there is fans of that movie. I have a friend of mine who recently bought it and rewatched it after a while, and he really enjoyed it. So, honestly, that one has its fans. I'm not a particular fan of that one. And then you have Terminator Genisys, which, boy, man, I saw that shit in the theater, man. And Terminator Genisys, man, talk about a movie that, quite frankly, really just disappointed, and it was one of those real huge disappointments. So one of those movies where it was really hyped and everybody thought, okay, this could be really cool, and it just, I mean, dude, it's one of those movies where you just leave the theater with your head hung low, and you're like, damn, man, what the fuck happened? Hey, there. I mean, it's a muddy water with those last three movies. And I think after Terminator Genesis, I think a lot of fans rightfully just are like, dude, enough. Man, we've got five movies, we've got the Sarah Connor Chronicles. Let's just stop, dude. Let's just put this baby to rest. And honestly, but that's the same thing with any of these franchises, dude, is that if a studio thinks it's going to make money, they're going to keep on making these movies until the end of time. They think somebody's going to fucking watch it, so why not make them? I mean, if we can cash in any way, shape, or form, then let's fucking do it. You guys know the routine by now. I mean, but I know a lot of people, like a lot of my friends were like, "Oh man, we really don't want to see this movie. No, no way." And I was the one sort of ringing the bell, like, "Why not give this one a chance?" And so once I went to the theater and watched this movie, now mind you, when I watched it, I enjoyed the movie. I liked it. I don't know if I could say I loved the movie, but I really enjoyed it. I liked what they tried to do here. Basically, it's about this woman who is basically living a very humdrum average life, and one day, just life hits her like a bag of hammers, and this sort of evil Terminator is coming after her. This one sort of enhanced biotech human is sent to protect her, and suddenly you realize that this chick is now the savior of mankind, and that she has to be protected, and the Terminator is trying to kill her, and they're on the run, and eventually they end up obviously crossing paths with Sarah Connor, obviously played by Linda Hamilton. And Linda Hamilton is back here after so many years since Terminator 2. She's back in the mix now. And, you of course have Arnold back in here because Arnold's in all of them. And, they're just on this adventure of survival and trying to defeat the evil Terminator, just like every other fucking Terminator movie that you've seen. But I still like this movie, though. I still really honestly do. And, it's tough to say exactly why. I think there's elements here that remind me of Terminator 2. There's elements that remind me of the first Terminator. It feels in some ways like it's going back to its roots. At the same time, I really love the action sequences here. I think they're really dynamic. I love seeing an older and grizzled Sarah Connor. And I think Linda Hamilton does a really great job coming back to this role. I think even Arnold here is still good in the role. He's still good as this character. And I think he's got some really funny moments in here as he's sort of Carl from Carl's Draperies, and he's talking about, well, I put up drapes and polka dots and bright colors. And he's talking about something, you're like, huh? What? It's kind of ridiculous and cheesy at times, but I think it still has those really great Terminator moments in there. And it tries to do something new. Even though I told you it kind of feels a little bit old school, it still tries to bring some new elements into the story and tries to breathe some new life into the series. I think the problem here overall, if I had to say anything, is that maybe it's too little too late at this point. And I really do mean that, because I think we've just been hit over the head so fucking much with not great Terminator movies that at this point I think people are just burnt out, dude. They're burnt the fuck out, and they do not want to, deal with any more of it. And the other problem is that James Cameron is back here as a producer and somebody who helped on the script, and his influence is very much in this film. and he came out and he said, "Hey, this is a really great Terminator film. It really goes back to its roots." And the problem is like, oh yeah, we heard that before when you did the fucking press for Terminator Genesis, and you told us all to go see Terminator Genesis, and look how that fucking turned out. And I think people didn't trust James Cameron. They had heard a lot of infighting that had went on with Tim Miller and James Cameron, sort of a back and forth about, uh, creative visions, and there was a lot of things that were going against this movie. And I think a lot of people stayed away, a lot of people tuned out, and I understand it. I get it. I'm not gonna hate on you guys for not wanting to see the movie or just simply not caring. I ended up going into it. I thought the movie was absolutely really good. Is it the best Terminator movie of all time? No, it's not. Not even close. Is it the worst Terminator movie of all time? No, not even close. So I think it's somewhere in between, but I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really genuine. The other problem with these movies is that at this point, the timeline is all fucked up. Let's be honest, dude. The timeline is completely all fucked up. And at this point, there's so many plot holes and inconsistencies that I think, the problem is that this film is trying to sort of take its cue from the early Terminator movies, yet at the same time be sort of a reboot in a lot of ways. Did it completely be successful? No, I don't think it did, but at the same time, I still think it's a pretty solid movie, a pretty solid action movie, a pretty solid sci-fi movie, and for a Terminator movie, I don't think it's half bad, guys. I really don't. I still enjoy the movie quite a bit, man. I really did. I thought it was clever with the Terminator stuff, with the evil Terminator sort of splitting into two, with sort of the sort of black goo one and sort of the endoskeleton. I, the unfortunate thing is this movie did not do well at the box office. So there was talk that this was going to be a trilogy. Those plans are now shot to shit, dude. There's probably not going to be another Terminator movie for a long, long time, man. This movie did not do well at all. It's not. I don't know if it's James Cameron's fault. I don't think it's Tim Miller's fault. Tim Miller did a great job directing this movie. He directed Deadpool, and he did a really great job with this film. But again, I just feel like people were just burnt out, man. And maybe you can revisit Terminator years from now, but for right now, dude, I think it's time to just sort of let it die and let it rest and sort of just let it sort of sit for a long time. And maybe people will find this over time, but until then, I just kind of let it go, dude. But I mean, there is some decent stuff here. You get deleted and extended scenes. You get an in-depth behind-the-scenes featurettes, man. And these are actually not sort of like quick, sort of 5-minute stuff. They really go into detail about talking about the characters, talking about the writing process, why they brought Sarah Connor back. James Cameron really talks about his creative vision and what he wanted to bring to the film. They talk about certain action sequences and how they broke it down script-wise and the story they wanted to tell. But the one thing you can really tell in the behind-the-scenes stuff, at least the sort of stuff that I got from it, is you could tell that there was definitely a big creative divide between Tim Miller and James Cameron. You could tell like James Cameron was like on set and he wanted certain things and they had to please him, and Tim Miller tried to get as much stuff he wanted but couldn't get everything. And what I found really fascinating is that there's a moment in the behind the scenes where James Cameron is talking about Arnold Schwarzenegger, and he says, well, I'm not going to make a movie without Arnold Schwarzenegger in a Terminator movie. And that really goes to the sense of basically how James Cameron is somebody who basically is controlling this all the way. Because I have a feeling that maybe Tim Miller didn't want Arnold here. That maybe Arnold could have not been in here and it might have been a better film. Who knows really what would have happened if James Cameron would have stepped aside. I think it's good to see James Cameron here, but at the same time, there is that push and pull, man. We'll never really know, but I sort of found it really fascinating in the behind the scenes stuff, dude. I still think it's really cool to see Arnold in these movies still. I love Arnold so much. It's cool to see Sarah Connor back and Linda Hamilton, and how much I've missed Linda Hamilton and how kick-ass she still is as a female. There's a lot of great stuff really going for this movie, and the only problem is that it's in the backdrop of a lot of bad will from other Terminator movies that kind of shit on this one, unfortunately. I enjoyed it though, man. That's just me. Let me know what you guys think of this one. But if you're a fan of Terminator movies and have been kind of burnt out a little bit, I would say still give this one a chance, guys, because you might be surprised by it. Yeah, you've been burned out by other ones before, but this might be one worth checking out, guys. So definitely give this a look. Terminator Dark Fate. Alright, everybody. That'll do it for the Blu-ray pickup video for January of 2020. And as you can see, guys, oh yeah, I had a smaller size stack than normal to start off the year. But let me tell you, there was still some really great stuff here. Some really great limited editions, collector's titles, some nostalgia titles I finally have in the collection, and some surprises as well. So not half bad for the month. And sometimes, a slower start to the year is not half bad. You can build up to some really, really great stacks and some really great releases. And hopefully 2020 is definitely gonna deliver. Let's hope, guys. Definitely let me know what you picked up for the month. There was a lot of really great stuff that did come out in January, stuff that I didn't pick up that you guys might have gotten, so definitely let me know for sure. And now we are heading into February for the pickups, and boy, February ended up being a more robust month than even I thought it was going to be, man. There was some really great stuff that I picked up. More collector's editions, more limited editions, nostalgia titles that I hadn't seen in a long time, retro titles that I gave a chance to, and some really cool exclusive editions that were extremely limited. So, I mean, I got some really cool stuff for February. And man, February ended up being a little bit bigger than I anticipated, but boy, man, I had a really great time there. So there's some really great titles coming in February. I promise, guys, you're going to be very happy with the pickup. So definitely stay tuned to that, guys. But I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, definitely give it the thumbs up. And if you're new to the channel, welcome. Check out the other Blu-ray pickup videos that I have done. Check out the Blu-ray and DVD out and about videos I do every single week. The theatrical movie reviews I do with my friends, movie hunting videos, and much, much more on the channel. If you love movies and physical media, hit subscribe and become part of the Film Fan Nation. I want to thank my subscribers. You guys are absolutely awesome. You have stuck with me through hard times. You've supported the channel. You've subscribed. You've commented. You've given me the love, and I really hope I give the love right back to you guys. So thank you so much for the really robust support that you have given the channel, man, and I appreciate it. So if you like how I talk about movies and physical media, definitely hit subscribe. And keep up to date with everything I'm doing through Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Film Fan 108. Keep up to date with everything I'm doing, plus special pictures and videos I do from time to time on social media as well. Alright, guys. Well, a decent start to 2020, and hopefully much more physical media goodness to come, guys. Definitely let me know what you're looking forward to and what you picked up for January, and I will see you back next time for a brand new Blu-ray pickup video. Take care, everybody, and happy hunting.